Tennessee. Get ready for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. For the next hour, we will forget about the black man, we will forget about the white man, and we will deal with the human. Pastor Andre Guy is here to answer your questions from a biblical perspective. He's an humble man who's on a mission to bring the church together with a Bible and a dictionary. He will tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help him God. And now, here's Pastor Andre Guy.
Well, good evening, members and the rest of the world. Welcome to another edition of The Truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I'm Andre Guy Reed. Hey, you got Q here. And for the next hour, let's forget about the black man. Let's forget about the white man. Let's deal with the human from a Bible perspective, if you will. Feel free to call in at 452-3091. That's 901-452-3091 or 901-324-7490. For the comments, suggestions, agreements, even disagreements we may have. We'd agree to disagree without being disagreeable. Okay, the Truth Radio Show brought to you by the Truth Radio Network. Giving everything from sex, race, religion, politics, and even sometimes sports from a Bible perspective. Oh yeah, the Bible is real. We thank you, God. We thank you. Amen. We're sponsored by Sheila Armstrong Insurance in Memphis. Give her a call at 901-303-8804 for all your insurance needs. I promise you, Sheila's the best insurance lady I've ever found. From your home, for your auto, for your life, for your children. Give Sheila a call at 901-303-8804. Oh yeah, on yesterday's show we were going off, and Terry from Connecticut proclaimed to be physically blind. He made a comment when we got off yesterday, Q. You weren't here. He said, Pastor Guy, you got to get back to or remember what color you are. And I didn't have enough time to respond to Terry in that statement. But Terry, I can respond to you now. I thank God I forgot what color I am. And I don't want to remember. When I got away from that demonic, racist, negative, losing ideology, I'm the black man. They do this to me because I'm a black man. I'm a black pastor. I go to the black church. I live in the black neighborhood. And I realized how poisoned I had been. I had the Word of God in the Constitution telling me I'm just a man that has an opportunity to get what any other man got. And you know what? It feels good. It feels real good not to be identified by what color I am, but by the content of who I am as a man. Matter of fact, Martin Luther King asked y'all that he dreamed about the day when he could be judged by the content of his character, not the color of his skin. But you got these dinosaurs that still running around fighting for black power. So no, Terry, that ain't what I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember what Jesus said. Amen. Second of all, man, insanity, I mean, it's like a hypnosis or something that these liberal Democrats got on the black culture, Q. Other guy called in yesterday. Mm-hmm. And he said something. Sometimes I just write off the other guy. He's just been a comedian. He said, ooh, I want to thank Nancy Pelosi for the great job she's doing. And Nancy Pelosi, I said, they got to realize the woman made a fool of herself. Do you know, I listened to a couple of shows that would show that black folks called in. And on a couple of them, these people that really made up in their mind that she's doing some genius move because she's not marching those articles of impeachment over to the Senate until they basically think that she's going to hold it till they guarantee her Trump going to leave off. And Q, they believe it. They heard that dog was. What that dog was sound like? That's what it must have been going on last night in the Democratic debate. Did you happen to see any of that? Did you happen to see any of it, Q? Who, me? Yeah. I ain't watched that though. Well, let me tell you a few of the things they threw out in that Democratic debate last night. Mr. Pete Buttigieg He said that if he's elected, he's going to make sure that every illegal immigrant that came over here during the time when they separate them from their parents, that they would get federal disability for the rest of their life for being traumatized like that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Mr. Pete Buttigieg said he can promise them.
Don't they already come in? They give them free tax numbers, don't they? They get income tax, right?
They can. There's a number they get is a TIN number, right? Not an EIN number, not a Social Security number. Matter of fact, the state of Tennessee, you can get driver's license now with no Social Security number. I know a whole lot of folks. Y'all need to go in there and tell them y'all name is Julio. Because they Social Security number, they can't get no driver's license or nothing. Well, Mr. Buttigieg said he's going to give all of them that got separated from their parents federal disability the rest of their life. Oh, we go farther than that.
Okay.
Ms. Elizabeth Warren, she says one of the first things she's going to do, is expand Donald Trump's prison reform. Guess how she going to expand it?
How?
She going to make it to where I don't care what your birth certificate says for you being male or female. If you're convicted of a crime, say you're a man, you're convicted of a crime, but you have to claim that now I'm really a woman inside, then you do your time in the female jail.
No. Okay.
Every man, raping and robbing, all you know, I'm homosexual. Now we listen to Pastor Guy. We gay. We had to put us over there. I mean, it's insanity, man.
You know what's gonna happen.
You're dull.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sit here. Because the black community should be in a uproar. This man, he didn't just get it by executive order. No. He got signed to law. Prison reform.
Mm-hmm.
This man, he knew this about executive order. No. He got to include that budget. What he did with HBCU. This man, he didn't just do it just for the federal level. He did it so at the state level, this would be passed down, and then it would go down to the corporate level. This is what this man is doing for you. Let's take this.
Many workers simply cannot afford to take unpaid leave when they have to care for a new baby or another family member, even though this puts their family's health and well-being at risk. We have state and federal laws that allow workers to take time off for an illness, for a family member's illness, or to bond with a new child. While these laws guarantee that workers do not lose their jobs or benefits during the leave, most of the time is unpaid. Family leave should be affordable. In California, we have the State Disability Insurance Program, which provides income for workers while they are on leave. The SDI program is funded by employee payroll deductions. Almost all California employees contribute to this program. So if you contribute to this program, you should be able to use it when you need it the most.
Workers who take the SDI program are covered by two programs, disability insurance and paid family leave.
The Disability Insurance Program, or the DI program, provides income to workers when they are unable to work due to a non-work-related injury or illness, pregnancy, or childbirth.
The DI program replaces up to 55% of a worker's income for up to 52 weeks with medical
The Paid Family
certification.
Leave Program, or the PFL program, provides income to workers when they need to take time off to care for a seriously ill child, parent, spouse, or registered domestic partner, or to bond with a new child.
The PFL program replaces up to 55% of a worker's income for up to 6 weeks.
It's important that more Californians become aware of and use the DI and PFL programs for two reasons. These programs help make family leave affordable, and these programs are entirely funded by worker contributions, so they should be able to use them when they need them the most. Workers should not have to choose between their family's economic security and health and well-being. The DI and PFL programs protect California workers from having to make that choice.
If you have information about that, contact the federal government.gov. Paid federal leave. Now they arguing about abortion. I mean, not abortions, impeachment. Paid federal leave. And then they did the impeachment thing. So this man is a clear and present danger. He must be removed immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're saying we're going to hold on to it until y'all tell us how you're going to do the trial. It's a joke. It is madness. But yet,
I said it's a slippery slope because if they reverse it, then everybody be like, why the Republicans trying to do all this? But yeah, they did it first.
you see, that's the danger
Mm-hmm.
of this. When you started, you did it first, I'm going to do it again. That's when the Constitution gets shredded.
Yeah, because
America can't afford this.
Nope.
And then last night, I'm going to tell you something now. The strongest candidate I saw on the stage last night was Pete Buttigieg.
Mm.
I mean, the other were talking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's possible that America is at the point that they would elect the first openly homosexual president with the first gentleman in the White House?
To get rid of Trump, they will.
Do they think about God? Well, we should pretty much answer that because of the show that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I bring up God when it comes to supporting these liberal Democrats, they either don't answer or they pervert the word.
Yeah, they say.
When they already pervert the word,
No,
they'll tell you it's sin, they'll tell you it's wrong. But if they're supporting it,
I say that he got to deal with that.
the 5 things black people need.
He got to worry about that sin. Like, okay, but you vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's on him.
Yeah,
not me.
No, I just voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 5 days. Okay, here we go. Want to make sure I got that income. While they're pushing to the black community in America, you need impeachment. Well, he impeached. Who the president today?
Donald J. Trump.
And you can quit answering to those dog whistles and focus on what is needed, so especially Terry in Connecticut. Why don't you focus on what is needed in the black community in America? It's not impeachment. It's not that they're elected politicians. It's about getting back to the fabric of God in our culture. And even for the ones that are not on the foundation of God, getting back to the moral fiber that the black community had in the 60s and the 70s when men worked to be the heads of their families. Even back into the days of slavery where people like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, even in the midst of the despair and depression, they had a way to rise like cream to the top. Now you can't live unless you get a handout. That's liberalism. Got a caller?
Yes, sir.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Pastor Guy, how you doing? This is Ron.
Hey, Ron, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I heard you make that statement about Buttigieg, and I have said the same thing, that he's going to be the next nominee, but I don't think he's going to be the nominee until Barack Hussein Obama come out and endorse him. And I think he was the main reason he didn't endorse Biden.
And I think that might be in the works. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you a ticket that I can see. Pete Buttigieg and Patrick Duvall.
Possibly, yeah, that would do it. That would persuade enough blacks to come over.
I can see Obama endorsing that.
I can too.
Because you don't know, he promotes homosexuality now. And we just tell the truth about it.
I want to say, I think Nancy Pelosi is holding up on that, submitting those articles to the Senate, because she's afraid that they're going to have her son and a whole lot of other people on that stand. They got to answer questions they don't want to deal with.
I don't even think that, that's it. I don't think they're going to call in the witnesses. What she's afraid of is history's going to notate that y'all, all Democrats, impeached the president, and when it went to the Senate, he got found innocent. Because at the end of the day, he's not going to be convicted.
Right.
They told them that before they did it, but because people, you had the congresswoman from Minnesota that, yeah, we're going to impeach the MF. Nancy Pelosi said, we've been trying for 2.5 years to impeach him. You got Al Green running around, but you got to impeach him, going to pay for the original sin of slavery. You got Hakeem Jeffries talking about impeachment is just like slavery or suffrage or Jim Crow and all that, but now they done got impeachment, and they sit there looking like, okay, so what we get? What we get? Some more peanuts.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I want to talk about. Lost my thought.
Family Leave Act, the historical black colleges and universities.
Oh, I know. Did you see? I sent you a thing on John D. Berry that he met with the president, and he put me in the mind of you when he was talking about his child went to a school,
right,
and they said that she couldn't even read.
Right.
And then he said his wife told him, well, she could read before she left home, you know. But she just didn't meet up to the standard of the school that they had put her in.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's for pro-choice.
I am on my show about that and stuff. You know,
I don't know that.
One point, Earl Fisher and Lord, I can't think of the woman's name, but they put billboards out and all that. They still have a movement where they're trying to have somebody to defeat him when the election comes because he had the nerve and audacity to be a Democrat and say he's pro-choice. They got a big move coming up against him.
And I think he needs to be vying for Steve Corn's seat.
And he has the people in District 9 hypnotized.
Right. I've never seen anything like it.
It's sad. I've never seen anything as sad as District 9.
You got $250 million going to black colleges, and black folks act like they don't even see it at all, you know. Somebody ain't gonna give them nothing.
And Steve Corn is on the bandwagon of not doing it because Trump did it. Steve Corn was on the bandwagon of not passing the prison reform because Trump did it. He represents District 9, and these people go for it.
That's the same attitude the black people have.
Yes,
because Trump is doing it, they don't want it.
That's it. They'd rather live in impoverished neighborhoods. They'd rather live in their life with lack of education, and they'd rather live their lives waiting on some food stamps. That's what it is, man.
And that's what politics is all about. The politics is quid pro quo. You give me this for my vote.
Life is about quid pro quo.
There you go.
Don't nobody go to work unless they get a check. Hey, come on, man. Hey, man, Ron, good hearing from you, my friends. Merry Christmas to you.
The same to you and the P2 for your family. Bye-bye.
Well, y'all looking for the impeachment. I'm playing for you what you need. This is what you need. What kind of pastor am I? Pastor going to tell you the truth. Because I love you.
These issues facing blacks in America. Here's my list. Problem number 5, the victim mentality. Nothing holds someone back more than seeing
themselves. This little Terry from Connecticut. Listen good.
Because a victim is not responsible for his situation.
Y'all too.
Everything is someone else's fault. And the victim sees little chance of improving his life. How can he get ahead if someone is holding him back? All this makes the victim unhappy, frustrated, and angry. This is how too many blacks see themselves, as victims. So much so that their victim status becomes their primary identity and their ruling ideology. I call it victimology. Unfortunately, many black churches preach this victimology. Many black parents pass it on to their children. Inner city schools teach it to their students, and the black media reinforce it. Meanwhile, the NAACP and other black grievance groups fundraise on it. Problem number 4, lack of diversity. Blacks repeatedly demand an honest dialogue or debate about race. But how can there ever be an honest dialogue about race between blacks and whites when there is virtually no honest dialogue between blacks and blacks? It's hypocritical. And if a black doesn't think whites are ultimately responsible for black people's problems, they're labeled a sellout, Uncle Tom, or race traitor. As long as this type of groupthink exists, race reverends of the Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson type will continue to be celebrated, while independent black thinkers such as Professors Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams will be shunned. The honest race dialogue and debate that first has to happen is not between blacks and whites, but between blacks and blacks. We demand diversity from others, but need to practice it ourselves where it really matters, in thought, opinion, and even political affiliation. Problem number 3, urban terrorism. As just about everyone knows, but too few talk about publicly, in majority black cities, violent black-on-black crime is rampant. A Department of Justice study from 1980 through 2008 revealed that blacks accounted for almost half of the nation's homicide victims, 47.4%, and more than half of the offenders, 52.4%, all while being 13% of America's population. The Tuskegee Institute conducted a study of all known lynchings of blacks that occurred between 1882 through 1968. During this 86-year span, which is essentially the post-Civil War era up to the Civil Rights era, 3,446 blacks were reportedly lynched. Presently, black-on-black murder eclipses the number of blacks lynched over the course of 80 years, roughly every 6 months. Unbelievably, the culpability for...
Interesting, ain't it? Pause for the call. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
I don't know if you want to welcome me or not.
Welcome in. Did you hear my dialogue?
What you planned don't apply to me because I live my life. I'm debt free. I owe nobody nothing. I have plenty of money. I live a good life. Hold on a second. Like to interrupt.
I want to get right back to the meat. We ended yesterday's show. What do you mean by I forgot what color? What do you mean by that?
Well, what do you mean I need to find Jesus Christ with my blind self?
Oh, I got to tell you exactly what I mean. My scripture said that a man is judged by what he is inwardly, not outwardly. That we shall be judged by the fruits of our labor, of our trees, that you don't judge people by what they look like, but you judge them by what they live like. That's Christian doctrine.
You do that all day.
Now what do you mean? Okay, well, anyway, when you change words, what do you mean by I need to realize what color I am? Explain that.
You do. Okay, I'll tell you what. Your ratings is about ready to triple, and you're going to get a lot of money. So why don't you tell the people what you told me, that you sucked another man's dick? That's what you need to tell them. You yourself told me that you involved in homosexual activity.
You all be saying, you know, that's sad. He just went way out there in left field. Well, that's what that Truth Would Do. The blind man from Connecticut.
What the?
I mean, left field, don't know where, but you know, at the end of the day, get back on my agenda. I shall not be moved.
Proportionate amount of mayhem
black vote need.
actually lies with a menacing 2 to 3% minority within the black populace. I call them urban terrorists. And since they're literally spawned from problem number 2, the black community protects them. Problem number 2, proliferation of baby mamas.
For the call. Let's see what this one got for me. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
I done heard it all.
Man, I heard it all too, Rick. I said, okay. He done come out of left field with something that I ain't even know about myself. Well, I tell you, boy, when you start hitting them right there where they at, they get, you know, it's a script in the Bible, man. It shows, how to go, Jesus I know, Paul I know, who are you? And they turn and rend on him. That those demons will turn and attack on you. That was a demonic spirit, man.
Nah, that boy sounds like he did something in the closet that he's trying to forget about.
No, somebody sent him a text.
They're gonna throw it on you. Reverse psychology.
I don't know, Shabby. I don't even know if he drank it for that one. I don't think you gotta have no liquor for that spirit right there. That's called some legions. Them was some legions there. They was the heavy dude out there.
That's the chief of the devils, right there. Just gonna accuse the brethren of something.
At the end of the day, though, at the end of the day, I still stand by what pissed him off. All of those stuff about I'm the black man. I thank God that I forgot what color I am, because I'm a man. Well, I'm an American. I'm a man that happens to be black. I'm a pastor that happens to be black. But the key thing that I'm found out, I'm a man. It ain't wrong. It's right. If you live sick so long, you think it's normal. I'm trying to help y'all. Lord have mercy.
They don't know how to think outside the buns like that.
Hold on, Ricky. Now,
look, commercial.
Now, look, I just had somebody going down the one way. Don't tell me you've been to do a U-turn.
Hey, I'm a bottom feeder, you know.
You know what a bottom feeder is?
Yeah, fish at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, they eat all the trash and the garbage at the bottom of the ocean. I'm trying not to say.
Gotta say it. He said bottom feeder.
And you know what it is, and that tickles you.
I like to put myself down so that nobody else can lift me up. If a man lifts you up, you're about to fall real soon.
Okay, Ricky.
King David said that. He said about his adultery and murder of Uriah the Hittite, Bathsheba, and that. He said, God, I'd rather fall into your hands, for you will show me mercy. A man will show me no mercy.
That sounds like David. That sounds like David.
That's in there.
I already knew when you said King David said it. Now Ricky trying to trick me and say it ain't in there, and then he gonna tell me where it's at. No, Ricky, I learned you by now. All right, Ricky, go ahead and give me your songs. I can finish playing my little
let's see. There's a man on the dark side of the moon. He knows exactly when it's high noon. As soon as we put President Trump in office and make Andre Guy his boss, then the world will close. And
I did an attack Pastor guy.
I have no idea.
Was it a full moon last night?
I think it's still out there.
Is it Friday? Friday the 13th.
Oh, my God.
Well, no matter. God's still God.
Yes, he is.
This is what y'all need.
Next era, 3,446 blacks were reportedly lynched. Presently, black-on-black murder eclipses the number of blacks lynched over the course of 80 years, roughly every 6 months. Unbelievably, the culpability for this disproportionate amount of mayhem actually lies with a menacing 2 to 3% minority within the black populace. I call them urban terrorists. And since they're literally spawned from problem number 2, the black community protects them. Problem number 2, proliferation of baby mamas. The disintegration of the nuclear family has led to an astronomical increase of single mother households. According to the Moynihan Report, in 1965, nearly 25% of black children were born to unwed mothers. The report's author, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, said this was a disaster in the making. He was, of course, vilified by so-called black leaders and their progressive allies. But he was right. Today, the out-of-wedlock birth rate is nearly 75%, and even higher in some urban areas. To be clear, baby daddies share this responsibility with baby mamas. Yet, while baby daddies are blamed and rarely shown compassion, baby mamas are rarely blamed and receive both compassion and support. This lopsided dynamic and the previously listed pathologies stem directly from the number one problem facing the black community. Problem number 1, unquestioning allegiance to so-called progressive policies. Unwavering loyalty to progressive liberal policies is the primary reason these dire conditions persist. It both makes them possible and perpetuates them. It's no coincidence that progressivism is the common thread that binds predominantly black cities with single-parent homes, failing schools, rampant poverty, and crime predominate. Look at cities like Detroit, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. They've been run by progressive Democrats for decades. If their liberal policies were at all effective, these cities should have become models of economic growth and prosperity. Instead, they're models of dysfunction. While fostering and exploiting the victim mentality, discouraging self-examination, subsidizing baby mamas, and making excuses for black thugs, so-called progressive policies don't alleviate the problems that afflict the black community. They aggravate those problems. You may have noticed that racism did not make the list. Why not? It's simple. There will be no solution to the problems afflicting Black America until more blacks recognize that the issues plaguing our community are ultimately self-inflicted. Does racism exist? Sure. But there are other problems far more serious. And waiting until there are no more races will mean waiting and making excuses forever. I'm Talib Starks for Prager University.
901-452-3094 or 901-324-7490. Now, Q, that's going to cause some problems. Because if what that man's saying is true, and racism is not the problem in Black America, then that means that all this stuff about Donald Trump being racist don't matter. That means that all the excuses we got about because I'm a black man, that's why I'm not getting ahead in life, don't matter. That means that when we are proclaiming we're going to the black church or the white church, we're actually going to the racist church because God ain't never said nothing about he got no colored church.
True.
So the race don't matter. So why is it taking such a stronghold over our land, over our lives. Why? Oh, why? Got a caller? Oh, let's see what is here. It's going to be an interesting day. Terry done kicked out here right. He's going to give me some ratings. They ready? Something to do. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Man, I'm all right, man. Check it out. I just tuned in and called. I want to say, I don't know how much of that piece y'all just played, but I think I called enough, to where I say I agree. And I've been saying, some of what he's saying to just about anybody that would listen, but hardly nobody wants to listen.
Okay.
And I've been preaching this, that, a lot of the problems that the black community have right now is self-inflicted. Now, the rebut is always, something that happened in the 60s and 70s, and some of them were actually the 50s and 60s, and then some want to go back to slavery, of course.
Okay.
And it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous narrative, and far too many times, giving these criminals ready-made excuses for the crap that they do. We constantly tell them that they're victims, that they're oppressed, that, this is their fault that they're disenfranchised, and whatever ridiculous other excuses they come up with.
Let me ask you a question. Are you aware that I've been to prison?
No, I don't.
Well, let me share it with you. I served 4 years in state and federal penitentiary, and if them people had kept me locked up for the rest of my life, they would have been right. I did not commit a crime because of America was doing me wrong. I did not commit a crime because white men were doing something to bother me. I committed a crime because I was a foul human being and I was a thief. And them people should have locked me up by the grace of God. And then I got out and stuff. But I let people alone. I let people stuff alone. The police left me alone. White folks ain't bothering me. Police ain't bothering me. And they won't bother y'all either if you out there trying to take care of your business the right way.
And it's true. Now, that's what the brother said on that clip that, is racism dead? No,
it's not dead.
You can't sit here and blame them all on racism.
Right. I don't have to let it affect me. We at a point now to where you could have some of the most racist people in the world out there. You really don't have to do business with them. You can start your own business. You can drive your own course in life. And let them be racist. I don't care. Look, you don't want to live with me? Guess what? I don't want to live with you either.
Exactly. That's my point. I be trying to tell people all the time. So what's that dude over there racist? What's that dude doing with you right now? Is him not liking you affecting your day-to-day business?
It should motivate you. The best revenge I can give is success. If you think that I'm a lower being and stuff, and I succeed in spite of what you think, that's motivation. That's not beating me down.
You know what, Pastor Guy? there was a time in the 70s, and I'm going to say through the probably early to maybe mid-80s.
Okay.
There was a time when black people were on the precipice of greatness.
I grew up in that time, and it was rare to see a black child where the mother and father were living in the same house. Now it's rare to see a black child where the same mother and father live in the same house.
Yep, and we were on our way. Man, the message to us, I'm 48.
I'm 58.
The message to us then was we could do and be anything we wanted to be.
Yes.
That was the message. I don't know where the message fell off. How did we get back
entitlement
to blaming white people for everything?
Entitlement.
How did we get back?
Entitlement. When Lyndon Johnson passed it to where he started basically Social Security at first was for white people. When Lyndon Johnson expanded it and stuff, and then he started using it as a way to make that the foundation of black culture, topple that with the heroin epidemic in our communities. And what happened was we became a people that instead of being self-sufficient, we became dependent upon the government taking care of our communities.
Yeah.
Took our eyes off God, man. Took our eyes off God.
Took our eyes off God. Let me tell you something else that put a kink in our chain to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
When we got our foot in the door, right, with certain things, I'm gonna say in the movie industry, right?
Okay.
When we started, producing and mainstream movies. For some reason, we decided to depict ourselves in a negative light. For whatever reason, you had the movies like Juice, Minister Society,
Superfly, The Mac,
Boys in the Hood,
Three the Hard Way.
Caught
you come to Harlem.
And we decided to portray in front of white America our thug life. And claim that to be the way the black life is.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, it actually was. Because if they didn't start out like that, because they saw it on television, they made it their goal to live like that.
Yeah.
There were people that dreamed of living like good times. They were living in the projects, y'all.
Mm-hmm. But you know, and the crazy thing about it, man, is what they didn't know, what a lot of them didn't understand was a lot of non-black people. That's all. The only reference they had was to see what was on TV.
Well, look like they're doing it now because CNN done replaced the Jeffersons. Hey, man, I got to catch these other calls. Stay blessed, my friend.
Hey, man, appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good weekend.
So, caller, welcome to the show.
This is the caller.
Hello, the caller. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I do tolerable, sir. I do tolerable.
Anyway, I like that piece that you played because it is so true that most of our issues, problems, and subject matter is and has been for a long time our own way of thinking and not living the right way.
It's already in our abilities to be successful in America.
And see, I still believe that we are a resilient people. I've always
I believe that we can be. History has proven that we can be. I don't think that we are being now.
Sir, Pastor, I have talked to so many young black males that piece was talking about. Mm-hmm. No father in the house, mm-hmm. Don't know their father, mm-hmm. Or either their father's in jail, mm-hmm. Or is deceased.
Or the gang is their father.
Because of that relationship of belonging. Mm-hmm. The thing is this: how is it, when is it, and where is it that we can be responsible black men to raise up our young black men who won't listen, who think they know it all, and haven't been anywhere to learn anything? Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I remember that the Reverend C.L. Franklin said in one of his messages about our sons, he says they're breaking our hearts. And as a community father, which is myself, and so are you, and so is Q, they're breaking our hearts. Yeah. Because they won't do right.
We see a generation that's being wasted, and especially when we made that mistake, and we know that we have the wisdom, so you don't have to make that mistake. But wisdom is not what they're looking for now. Wisdom is not what they're looking for. And it hurts. We might mask it like it doesn't hurt, but it hurts us to see it.
That's the thing that I've learned by speaking to the young men that I speak to pretty much on a daily basis or wherever I go is this: most of them don't want to hear anything unless you show, I show, we show as a community that they belong and that they're listened to about their circumstances.
You know, that's a rock of my ministry, is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If you don't get across that you care before you start the chastisement or correction with people, you can stop yourself because you're going to lose.
When I was over in Raleigh part of town, there was about maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 young men, and he was married. The guy that used to live upstairs from me, they all used to hang out over there. And not giving myself a pat on the back, I used to minister to them to a certain extent.
You got to make quick. Can you just tell them we got 2 calls on hold? Make it quick.
Okay, that I used to minister to them, and they told me, "You show us love."
Yep.
And if that's what they're looking for, we need to show them love.
Those are the kind of people that people never see us when we interact with. but they never forget us, and sometimes we never forget them. Stay blessed, my friend, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. You also.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hallelujah, brother.
Thank you, Jesus.
I come to comfort the sinner and return the stray lamb to the fold.
Wait, what you
all
say?
ye that labor in politics.
Hold on, Sonny. What you say? You kind of said it again.
I come to comfort the sinner and return the stray lamb to the fold.
Sir Neil.
Yes, sir.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you. I'll be a little bit older after this New Year.
Amen. Are you happy that the president is impeached?
Man, Sister Nancy told us to not be happy about that thing.
Don't be happy about it.
No, we're supposed to. It's a somber thing. It's
Summertime. I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Who the president today?
Mr. Trump.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir. Who President Mars?
Who be the president at Christmas time?
It's gonna be Trump. But with 2020.
Okay. When the election come around in 2020,
Bloomberg.
When 2020 come around, who's gonna be running for president for the Republicans?
I guess it's gonna be Trump because the Senate, his fat brothers ain't gonna do nothing.
So let me understand this. So what did they accomplish by impeaching him?
What it accomplished is you're responsible for your actions. They are consequences.
Yeah. Okay.
So he got his feet spanked.
Did he? Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I come and indict you for robbery, and get an indictment to the judge, and they give you a court date, you come in for robbery. And when the court look over the indictment for robbery, they tell you, no, this man is not guilty.
Right.
How bad does that look on you?
Well, am I the one being indicted?
Yeah, you got indicted.
Yeah.
When you were before the court found out, no, this man is innocent. Drop these charges.
But they ain't gonna say he's innocent.
Yes, that's what they do.
They just not gonna charge him because he's above the law.
No. They've already charged him.
This is it.
Impeachment is a charge, sir. They've already charged him.
You gotta pay the piper.
Okay.
Even the Pied Piper gotta pay. You know who the Pied Piper is?
Who the Pied Piper?
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly.
Play his little whistle and all these little young girls following. But guess what? It's a consequence of that for the black folks. R. Kelly and Bill Cosby.
Wait a minute.
Where's Trump?
Wait a minute. Now you saying that the penalty for black folks that they get locked up like R. Kelly, they ain't doing white folks like that. I submit to you, they do the white person worse.
No, Weinstein still out last time I checked.
Okay, well, check this out. They got R. Kelly locked up, right?
Yeah.
Got Bill Cosby locked up, right?
Yeah.
Where they got Jeffrey Epstein?
Idiot.
Oh, okay. Now who got treated worse?
He killed himself.
Okay, no, he did, ain't he?
All he had to do was wait.
Okay, but he did that. That's what I'm saying. You can't defend and defense without that. That's stuff going on with that. I don't know, but in the process of our life, you know and I know, man, America looking good right now, ain't it?
It is, man. I ain't complaining. I'm just.
What do you think about Trump and giving the money to the HBCUs like that? Isn't that a beautiful thing?
I'm proud of Trump for doing that.
What about the paid family leave act? What do you think about that?
I'm so happy about it. And God can use the evil person for good.
He will do it. There's a guy named Nebuchadnezzar. The Bible, God said, my servant. Saul became Paul. Yes. Oh, you got Andre.
Yeah.
I was Hebite. I became Andre. Yeah. Pastor
It's possible. And
it's possible.
It happens.
David, do you think that it's possible? That it's just possible? That's what God is doing with Donald J. Trump?
Yeah, but he still got to be responsible for that.
He got to be responsible for that.
He got to have a speech thing.
I agree. Sometimes the president is forward mouth, and sometimes the president is quick witted, and he can pump the brakes a little bit. I ain't got no problem with going along with you. But as far as the job that he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job for the church. He's standing up for the church. He's standing up.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing, ain't it?
Yes,
well, you know the Democrats, they said they don't want under God and they oath anymore. You know that, don't you?
Oh, no. You going too far to the left. I know there ain't no Democrat, and I ain't no Democrat or Republican. I don't like none of them.
I'm not a politician either. I'm not Democrat or Republican. I do believe in conservative ideology, but at the end of the day, I'm a Christian. If it lines up with the word of God, I'm with it. If it don't, I'm not.
I'm going to say this real quick. I had a call last night from Washington, D.C., and through the survey, and they said, which one of the Democratic candidates would you vote for? I said, none of them. I don't like any of them. And you know who to pay for it is Bloomberg. He's trying to buy his way into this thing.
Yeah. Him and the other one, they got another one. I think his name Tom Steyer. Yeah, he got put him under. He jumped in there. They figured Trump did it. We can do it.
They can do it too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, y'all have a blessed one and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and yours, man. Stay blessed.
Yes, sir. You too.
Any more calls?
No, sir.
Okay, we got a few more minutes. Look, y'all, if you haven't done it, you might well get ready to do it. Go down there. I'll play commercial first. Hold on.
We have 11 minutes.
11 minutes. Okay, I got a few minutes. I can play some of this.
And
Anytime at Kia with great products. So hurry into Kia's holiday sticker sales event today.
From the radio station.
Yeah, good. That that thing right there, first of all, a lot. That guy ain't sucking nothing. That's milkshake.
Don't make me laugh.
I kill him.
Don't make me laugh.
You ain't got to worry about it. If something that I did, believe me. If I confess to every other sin I done did, I might well confess to that too. Now, that ain't on my table. Now, sometimes it's true. It hit them. They hit me sometimes, and sometimes you and the other Lewis and stuff, y'all tell me the pastor, don't get frustrated. Mm-hmm. Don't let your feelings show. But in the process, though, what's in you gonna come out. And I've just been that was in him. Look, this real ID.
Man, that's what I want to ask you about. All the DMVs getting slammed right now.
Slammed because they got the real ID, plus you got the folks that were in Tennessee now, you can get driver license if you're a legal immigrant because you ain't got to have no social security number, so they jam back. And let me play a little bit of that for y'all.
Lisa Haven here. Well, Americans are going to be and already are forced to comply by October 1st, 2020. If you do not comply, well, that means no entry for you. And the bills and legislation were passed in 2005. What am I talking about? Well, many of you probably already heard about this, but I want to bring it back up because I think it's a very critical point that we are at in our society today. I am talking about the real ID. Now, if you've gone to the DMV lately, you may have gotten a notice or some kind of new requirement stating that you cannot fly, nor can you, enter any federal buildings if you don't comply with the new federal national ID called a real ID. For those of you who may not know what the real ID is, I'm going to throw up the resolution here on the screen, but this was passed again in 2005. It's called the Real ID Act, House Resolution 1268, and it's titled Improved Security for Driver's License and Personal ID Cards. Now, this requires you, when you go into the DMVs, to submit your name, your phone number, your address, stuff that you would submit for a driver's license. However, it takes it a step further, and it asks for proof of residency, your birth certificate, and your social security card. Additionally, this will include facial recognition technology. It reads, subject each person applying for a driver's license or ID card to mandatory facial image capture. What does that mean? Well, that means that they have your face on record in a federal national database. Means when you go to the airport, you can have an ID with your face on it, and in addition to that, they'll have your face on their screen. That is what facial ID recognition technology is. They have your face scanned, and now they have the ability to find you in a crowd. That is the purpose of the Real ID, to get all your information on a federalized, nationalized database. And this is what the government has done. When must we all comply? Well, as I stated in the beginning of video, and as you can see in the document, we must all comply by October 1st, 2020. That means you have your real ID in your hand with a little star logo up in the corner of your ID there, showing that you are real ID and federally, nationally recognized, and you're compliant as well. Now, how are the states holding up to this? Well, check out this map. This map shows 98% of the states here in America are ID compliant, or have at least filed for an extension to be ID compliant. Green means that they're already compliant. Yellow means that they've actually filed for that extension. Now, this is all part of the United Nations agenda. This is why they're implementing this thing, because according to Article 16.9, everyone in the world needs to have an identification card by 2030, as you can see there. Well, this national ID no longer is it controlled by the states as we have with our driver's license, but now you become a national federalized agent, federalized person with all your personal data given to the feds. Now, what if you don't comply? What if you say, I don't want your real ID, I'm just going to keep my driver's license? Well, obviously, that's an option as well, but you will not be able to fly domestically, nor will you be able to enter any federal buildings. You can't do any of that unless you have a real ID, and you cannot fly unless you have a passport or a real ID. In other words, it's a forced compliance on the American people. And we got a lot more. How many minutes we got, Q? 6. I got 6. Okay, I can play a little more. Hold on, I can play a little more. 901 452. And the fact of the matter is, they're really pushing for it. Check out this report here from News10.com, put out July 2018. DMV encouraging New Yorkers to get the real ID. K5 News, July 2018. Washington driver's license change to comply with real ID. Daily Press, June 2018, Virginia DMV introduces new real ID credentials. The Chronicle, July 2018, Ohio requires new ID by 2020. Golden State Newspaper, June 2018, all California driver's license must upgrade to the new real ID. Doesn't this kind of remind you of something? You see your papers? I don't think I have them on me. In that case, we'll have to ask you to come along. But it's possible that, yes. Here they are. These papers expired 2 weeks ago. You want to come out? Papers, please. Let me see your papers. You know, here's what I find interesting about the real ID, that the entire purpose that they pushed this in the first place was around September 11. They said we didn't want more terrorists and we wanted to better weed out terrorists from our country. So let's get a nationalized database, because let's be frank, that's what it is, and make every American comply with their social security numbers, face recognition technology, so we can get that. But here's the thing that they don't say is, if you want to vote, you don't need a real ID. Kind of a catch-22, right? Because if you were trying to get away from voter fraud, and it really had anything to do with September 11th and, well, our voting system, then wouldn't they make voting part of real ID compliant? No. That's interesting. Pause for the call. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
That's the guy. I just walked into the house, man.
Yes,
I've been busy all day. I haven't really been listening to the radio, but I heard you talking about this real ID. I was talking to my friend John Lawson the other day about real ID.
Okay.
Trying to get an understanding about it.
Okay.
So it's basically saying that you got to have it if you go to other states.
You have to have the real ID by October 2020 if you want to fly on an airplane or you want to go into a federal building. The main thing about it is that they're going to start using your facial recognition, where they could beam in with a satellite and pick you out of a crowd of 10,000 people.
Okay, well, when you said federal building, you mean like if I'm going down there to the VA hospital, I have to have real ID?
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute, I got ID from them.
No, you got to have the real. It's not going to be mandatory.
Real ID?
Right, it's not going to be mandatory. It's going to be mandatory on October the 1st of 2020. In order to fly domestically, internationally, or any federal building, you have to have a real ID. Don't forget, folks, I said it this way. If you don't get your face scanned, they do the face recognition and get a star on your ID, let folks know that, hey, you've been scanned. Okay. That's it.
Well, that's what I need to do then. I don't have no problem with it being scanned.
They said it's a long wait, though. They said everywhere you go is a long wait.
So we talking about October of next year?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got plenty of time.
Oh, you got time, yeah.
Where can I go and get this thing? Because I went
Highway Patrol.
Look, I went down there on Summer Avenue. That place closed down.
No,
they said it moved and everything.
Avenue?
Yes, sir.
That's a new one on me.
I went down there last week, Pastor Guy.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Down. I've been asking everybody. And
I'm going to check into that. No, I did not know. But let me tell you this, though. When you go, you got to take your birth certificate, your social security card. If you got a passport, your passport, and proof of residence. You got to take all that with you.
Wait a minute. You mean I got to take a birth certificate?
Yes, sir. You got to bring your birth certificate,
Social security card,
and
proof of residence.
And proof of residence. If you got a passport, bring your passport.
So
Yes,
if I take a method like gas and water, I'm cool on that proof of residence.
Oh, yeah. That's where you live at. You
All right, I appreciate the information, man.
Thank you, sir.
And y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Keep America great. Keep America great.
I know that's right. I'm out of here.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
You know, you got to be a retard to think that you can walk into a federal building and not have ID, come into the country illegally.
No, they're not talking about your ID, Black. You got to have.
I know.
You got to have the real ID.
You got 1 minute.
Right. Regardless, you need an ID for anything. These people,
You already got ID. You got to have the real ID. There's a new thing called a real ID that if you don't go get it with that star in the corner, the ID you got now, you can't get in the federal building.
I'm good for that. They need the hyper security because
go get your star. I gotta go though. You can call it in. Bye. Y'all, God bless. I love you. If you like the show, support the show. Go to AndreGuy.com. Click on Revelation Christian Center, y'all. If you give us the resources, we'll do the work. God bless and Merry Christmas. Even though tomorrow is
I didn't need to do that.
when it comes, Sheena Armstrong is the owner-operator of Insurance of Memphis, located at 3556 Hickory Hill Road. Sheena can prepare you today for what tomorrow may bring. I call it the one-stop shop for all your